episode number 10, or oh, for fuck's sake. It's episode number 11. Sorry, we'll keep going.
It's still going, yeah, give it on then.
With episode number 11 of British Strength Radio with Sam Bollands. Remember, if you would like to support the generation of new content with the podcast, you can support the podcast by going to britishstrengthmagazine.com and subscribing to British Strength Magazine. We have articles by the brightest minds in the UK strength sports industry and interviews with the best athletes in the UK. Without further ado, Sam Bollands.
That was so
welcome
professional.
Back.
That was amazing.
It was completely...
You've blown me away. Yeah, how are we doing? Are we good?
Yeah, I'm good. We've just come back from the Irish Pro, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right. Just had a weekend of competing in Limerick. It was a mixed bag, should we say, for me. And how would you class your day of competing over there?
Just a continuation of awful performances this year. Basically, we will totally focus on you. But if I've totaled 920 in bare knees and I just totaled 905 in 3 meter knee wraps, you're not going to be happy, are you?
I didn't know that was your total, so yeah, I can understand that was not your best day then, obviously.
No, but on to you.
Remember in the last podcast?
Yeah.
When we were having banter.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you beat me by 100 kilos, pretty much.
Yeah. Moving on.
But then again, that now means that I've humbled myself and I have to work on just rebuilding.
Yeah, you come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, eventually. But I don't know if you'll be doing the same. I won't get the chance to compete on that exact platform with you again. So
well, yeah, we'll cover
that later. But let's talk about what you did at the Irish Pro. So you've just totaled 1,000 kilos. You've become in total out of all the raw guys with wraps, without wraps, the fourth guy. Is it?
Fourth guy, including Glenn Ross, to total 1,000 kilos
in the UK.
Yeah.
Tom,
Luke,
you have left some out again there. Right, so let's address it this time. Who have you left out there?
Well, I'll come back to that. Right, right. I will cover that. Like I said that last time, but I want to. So the Irish Pro. Let's talk about how that competition went and all the positives about it. For me, obviously, like I say, mixed bag. I went 5 for 9 and I tore my hamstring, but I still managed to total 1,000 kilos. So it was a good, I know it sounds as if I'm being a little bit of I don't know what the word is, but I'm being a bit overcritical. But I didn't feel like I had a good day, but I still managed to total 1,000 kilo. In terms of the competition, Shane did an amazing job. It's the way he set that gym up, transformed it, the pyrotechnics, the screen, the warm-up room, all the equipment they had there, the atmosphere, second to none. The way he promoted it, kept all the lifters informed of the information, weighing times and where the venue was going to be, and building the hype. They even going to the extent of getting portaloos and like food at the venue. Just ticked every single box he could as an event organizer. In terms of the day, like how it went through, say lift for me, open with a 370 squat, moved well, went to 400, moved smooth, not easy. Decided to go for 900 pounds, 410, because I had a certain goal in my mind. I wanted to total 1,030 to 1,040 on a 9 for 9 day, which would have put me 4th all time in the list. So that was like the goal. There was the 3 goals: total 1,000, break the British all-time record of 1,010.5, and try and total something that puts me 4th all-time. So then, when I went out to squat 410, I'd put my knee wraps on, probably a minute too early, and really cranked them on. And just before I went out, the lifter before me was attempting the same way and actually dumped the bar.
No, that wasn't
Marius.
It was Marius.
He didn't do it on purpose. It's nobody's fault really. When you've got that weight on your bar, on your back, it's you can see why you'd panic and you might just try and get out of the way. But what it meant was, I then had to wait because they had to strip the bar, put it back on, reload the plates. And as you know, like when you've got your knee wraps cranked, that every second you've got them on longer than needs be, it's sapping your energy. And in the back, I had my arms on my handler, and I was just panting and trying to think of something else. But by the time I came out, I was that tired that I couldn't even unrack it. I was stumbling all over, and I didn't even really attempt. I didn't even go down with it because I knew I didn't have it. Then squats, bench. Should know this by now. Squats, then bench. Got a 500-pound bench. Got my first and my second. Wasn't strong enough to get anything more than 227, which meant that left me with 372.5 for 1,000 kilo. So the plan was open with that, break the all-time UK record after that with 385, and then go for a 400 kilo pull, which at that time would have given me 1,027, which is still, I would have been extremely content with that. But I got my opener fairly easily. I think I would like to think it moved like an opener. And then tore my hamstring on the second. And at this point, I just wondered where my headspace was. I knew I'd won the total by that point with how the other lifters had done. I thought I'd won on points, which was the main prize money. But I was still hugely disappointed that I didn't get a chance to attempt those other weights, which were the real meaningful ones for me on the day. So I went outside and had a little sulk, didn't want to be around anybody. And then my handler came over to me and said that the lifter who was currently in second had just put an attempt in that might be doable for them, that would take the points by 0.2. That was Dan Stewart, or they call him Blackie. That's not racist. They genuinely call him, I don't know why he's got that nickname, but I'll call him Dan from now on, just in case.
Well, they call him, it's Blackie Chan, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know where the name originated.
That's not racist either, is it?
But so then Dan pulled it out the bag. He managed to get the winning deadlift. So my head has gone from, I'm going to break the all-time record here, and I might even pull 400 kilos, and I've got 1,250 euros, to, I'm not going to do that. I've torn my hamstring, but at least I won. Oh, no, not won. And that felt like 1,000 euros had slipped through my fingers. But it is what it is. That's powerlifting. So I moved on, I stayed for the presentation, and Dan, class act, hats off to him. He was asking if I was okay when they did the presentation. He helped me up out of the seat. When they were handing him his belt, he held my hand up in the air and acknowledged me, and it was a nice gesture. And he did everything he could. He's one of the nicest lifters I've met.
He is a nice guy. I've not spoken to him extensively, but I've spoken to him a couple of times, and he's always been nice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He was nice.
I've never heard a bad word said about him, and that's saying something in powerlifting.
Helps his lifters out quite a lot too. His athletes who he coaches.
Yeah, I've heard he goes above and beyond with stuff like that. So that was the day of lifting. Now after that, this is when it brings us on to the more controversial end of things. I left, when you're lifting yourself, you're not really paying attention to other people's lifts. I wasn't in the gym when Dan pulled his winning deadlift. I was outside because my missus and my handler were saying, look, you don't need to see this, stay outside, because they knew how gutted I was already, and they thought, just in case he gets it, that's the last thing I need to see. So then I went back to the hotel room, and that's when I started watching the lifts that had been passed. And let's just say, as if I wasn't down enough already and I felt like salt had been rubbed into some open wounds, I have to be honest, when I watched them back, it rubbed even more salt into the wounds. Now, I don't want this to come across badly, and I'm really I was 50-50 about even saying anything about this, because Shane put his heart and soul into that competition, and Dan lifted and acted like a gentleman, but at the root of things, there was some really bad calls at the Irish Pro. I would say I have to use Dan as an example because he's the ones that affected me,
Yeah,
and he's the ones that I've watched the most.
He's not the only example. He's definitely not the only example.
And this is not to say that other lifters that competed there, didn't perform the lifts to the correct standard. There were lifters that were doing excellent lifts, but when the judging isn't, it wasn't what it should be.
Yeah, it wasn't like anyone got a lucky call. It was that lots of people got a lucky call. Like, it wasn't biased towards anyone, towards one person. It's just that, and I want to echo what you've just said about the fact that the competition itself was great. The way Shane ran it. It was my first one. I think it was it your first one?
Yeah, my
first Irish Pro, and honestly, it was so professional. For the standard of comp, it certainly lived up to that in terms of just everything. It was just a nice weekend as well. It was just nice to be around there, and it was kind of
the lifters, that you were made to feel welcome. Everything that he was in control of was perfect.
Good memory. It was a good memory. And it was. I said this to you before the comp. Like, you said, do you think some of these training lifts are going to get past? And I said, I know almost for a fact that there'll be a lot of high squats past. I don't know why I had a feeling about it, but I just knew they would. I knew they'd get past.
It's funny you should say that, because my last competition was Pro Raw. 6 months later was the Irish Pro, which was the perfect timescale for me to do. And I have to say, in previous years, I've seen lifts at the Irish Pro, and there'd been some dodgy calls from what I'd seen, and I was unsure about doing it. And so after 5 months before the competition, after the British Championships with the BPU, who do the judging for the Irish Pro, after that there was I don't know whether you remember, there was a bit of a fuss that kicked off with the judging there, and a lot of lifts were getting passed that were very sceptical.
So where was this?
At Body Power.
At Body Power, yeah. I heard so.
And straight after that, I didn't say anything publicly. I just messaged Shane privately. I said, look, I don't want to come across badly, but I really hope that the standard of judging for the Irish Pro is going to be of a better standard than what it was at the Brits. Because, as I said in the last podcast, I don't want to just be given lifts that shouldn't be given. I want my lifts to mean something. That's the whole point of competing. You're meant to do them to a standard. So anyway, said all this, and then when I, looked at them back, just to take one of the three lifts, for example, with Dan, and I hate to do it. It's not his fault, but as he's winning deadlift, he pulls it to the top, and as he's actually dropping it, he's falling backwards, and he takes a step backwards as he's lowering the bar. And I've checked and double checked the WPC rules, which they ran to. Rule number 5, your foot is not allowed to move laterally, or anything that constitutes a step is reason for disqualifying the lift. Mm-hmm. And that one lift on its own, and I won't really touch on the others because I don't know, I just won't want to pick too much on one person, but that should not have been passed. And that made me look deeper into other lifts. And then as people started posting their, the lifting, that's when I just realised that it was a really poor performance by the referees. And it's a really taboo subject that nobody likes to talk about, nobody likes to mention. And if you do mention it, you're a hater or an armchair referee, or you don't know what you're talking about, But it's got to the point now where British powerlifting is starting to become a bit of a joke to other countries. It's getting a bad reputation. And the reason why I feel as if I want to say something about it is not just because, I feel as if the judging would have been a standard, the result would have been different for this one competition. It's not just that. It's you. When I take powerlifting as seriously as I do, I want to be the best in the world at this. And I put a lot of time and effort. Some people see powerlifting as just a hobby. I don't. It's more serious to me. So I want what I do in competition to mean something. And I don't want to compete in a federation or a competition where the lifts are less of value because people know that the judging standards aren't as strict.
Yeah.
So people will have seen the results and the lifts that have passed in the Irish Pro, and unless people have actually seen my lift specifically video, they'll associate. They can, for all they know, they'll go, well, he probably squatted 5 inches or 3 inches high, and they weren't really performed to the standards they should be, and they'll think that my first 1,000 kilo total that I've done won't be as valued as highly as, say, if you do it in Pro Raw, where you know there's no bad lifts that are passed. And that's why it matters to me. I'm not just being a hater. This is about making powerlifting a proper sport and it getting taken seriously, and it's not going to when there's no accountability for the referee's decisions. It's like if you wanted to be a 100-meter sprinter, the best in the world, you did a time of 10 seconds and somebody did a time of 9.9 seconds, but they only ran 80 meters. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And this is the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And as much as, you know, Shane's a great person, I would say if I was Shane and I was watching what was going on, I would have had all three judges. I would have stopped the competition. I would have had the judges. I would have took them by the scruff of the neck and gone, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You made like that spoiled the competition. Everything else was perfect." And I won't be doing the Irish Pro again, and I won't be competing in the BPU again.
Right. Okay. So do you feel that maybe then what I'm getting from that is, in order to, let's say, clean up the sport of powerlifting, if even that's the right term, and I mean that in terms of the standards, the judging standards, that you should maybe not do comps where you know that judging is going to be bad?
Right. Here's the thing. Yes, that's the only way that you would ever be able to prevent it, if just everybody stopped competing in these competitions that give you lifts, give you easy lifts. But here's the thing, there's like two sides of the fence to people who compete in powerlifting. There's the one which I think that we both lie on, where we want everything to be done strict and to the rules, and we don't mind if we don't get a lift given if it's 50-50 because it's a strict call, and we want what we do on the platform to be significant, And then there's the other side that have the attitude, I hate the attitude of the judges gave it 3 white lights, so it doesn't matter what you say. That's absolute bullshit, and it's the worst attitude to have towards powerlifting if you ever want it to get taken seriously. But these same people on this other side just see it as a hobby.
Yeah, and I think those people who have they gave it 3 white lights, so it's fine attitude, are the ones who are quite fragile in terms of their ego, in terms of if you say one bad thing, it's taken as a personal insult rather than it being black and white like it should be. It's literally black and white. Like, say for example, if you saw someone's knees cave in during a squat, you tell them, mate, your knees are caving. We need to address something here so that you can be a better squatter. So if they're squatting high, surely you would say, mate, you're squatting high, we need to address the fact that you're squatting high, then you can be a better squatter. Yeah,
and you're right. The ego is a big thing. Like, it's not all of the reason why they do it, but there's definitely a lot of characters that are in there. It's for ego's sake. People want to be strong. They want recognition, and some people, like, they would rather have the recognition, fake recognition, to boost their own ego. And going back to when you were starting to ask me who's the person I'm missing out with 1,000 kilo totals, the first person in the UK to total 1,000 kilos did it with a squat that was ridiculously high, and it should never have counted. It should never have passed. And when a lot of people actually said something about it, and the backlash you got was just, shut up, you know nothing, you're not strong enough to even unrack this weight, and so on and so forth, because it was just about protecting their own ego and not seeing it for actually what it was. If you just looked at it for as something is, it was like, that was high, mate, there's no getting around it. And what the reason why you should pull something like that up and actually say something about it is because the two people who totaled it after him lost out on the opportunity to be able to say, I was the first person well, Glenn Ross. I include Glenn Ross was the first person, but say the first person in the history of raw, that since they've had a category of raw powerlifting.
Because he did it, from what I understand, he did it raw, and it wasn't actually a raw meat. It was
it was like
meat.
in an equipment meat, but he didn't wear any equipment, so you could I don't know, but say just for argument's sake, they've missed out on the opportunity to be able to say, I was the first person in the history of raw powerlifting in the UK to total that, and it was given to somebody else that I'm not saying they weren't close to being able to do it, but on that day, that one of the lifts that counted towards that total
was a high squat.
Should not, according to the rules of powerlifting.
I said something about this, and I didn't mention the fact that his squat wasn't to depth in one of my editorials, and I said the only thing about that probably helped the other two guys was the fact that on paper he totaled 1,000 kilos, so it lifts that mental barrier that people have. On paper he's totaled 1,000 kilos, so fuck it, anyone can do it now. Do you know what I mean? Like it probably gave the other two guys a bit more confidence because it seemed like less of a big thing to do. I'm not saying that Tom and Luke aren't confident in their abilities anyway, but that was the only thing.
There's probably less pressure on doing it after
there was
that.
Lots of pressure on Sam. Sam put a lot of pressure on himself. That's not to say that the squat wasn't high, and at the time I didn't really pay much attention to it. I was like, whatever. But no, you're totally right. Okay, so let's have a look at.
That was an intense start.
The start hasn't finished yet.
No, go on. Yeah, we're still in on it.
Right. Okay. So we're looking at these comps which have what we'd class as suboptimal judging standards. Can you maybe look at it from the eyes of the referee? So these squats aren't being passed 2-1; they're being passed 3 white lights. Why do you think it is? Because, to us, I'm not a referee, I'm not a judge. I think it's a tremendous amount of responsibility that I probably wouldn't want to take on. I just want to focus on lifting myself.
That's a good point you just made there. The responsibility
to them, why are they getting passed? Surely it should be really, really obvious that a squat is high, or that. Do you know what I mean? Do they see it a different way? I'm trying to figure this out because
I think there's a few reasons. One, I think it's sometimes pressure from other referees, because at the Irish Pro there was a few lifts that flickered red first, and then when whites went, they flicked it back to white.
Really?
Yes. So that can be one reason. Sometimes you feel pressured when if you're sat there and you're going to be sticking to strict rules, and then the other two aren't, and all of a sudden you look like the bad guy. You feel like you've got to do it to their standard, otherwise you look like a bad person. Two, when you become numb to something, and it just becomes the norm the more it occurs.
Yeah. That's what you think squat depth is.
Yes, and I believe that the BPU have had a steady decline. I don't remember it being like this from when I first competed with them, and it's got worse as in the last 18 months maybe.
Yeah, and this is something I hate to say, because you know what, I love Emma, I love Calla.
I love the people
Emma and
involved
Calla are great, and a lot of the refs who I know are great. But I just told you about this woman I know, her squat got passed. I was just telling you, it was high as fuck, and she wasn't even stood up when she started the squat, and it's what's going on? And Kevin Oak, he made the same point, but about US lifting. He was basically, there's a really good video actually, check it out, it's called Is Untested Powerlifting a Joke or something? It's on Kevin Oak's channel. And he was basically saying, other than the USPA, he says that it seems that untested powerlifting has just got worse and worse and worse in terms of the standard. Just meet by meet, it's just slipped that little bit.
I think, and I think when that becomes the standard becomes swayed in what they expect squat depth to be, and also when you raise the point about having the responsibility, there's been times where this is one of the reasons why referees are protected, and you don't, because they're class acts. They give up their time to help at these competitions. But here's the thing: there needs to be accountability, and with the decision to actually become a referee, you need to accept that you've got the responsibility of that good or bad call. It's not just a fun day out. You know, if you're doing a big competition or a big lift, let's take Tom Martin's lift, for instance.
Yeah.
He was robbed, really. Nothing personal against the referees, but they kind of need to...
I just want to say about that, though, about Tom Martin's referee, the backlash that some of the refs got was absolutely awful. I think that...
And did they get quite...
They got really bad backlash about... Basically, I think what happened was... Yeah, I watched it on video and it looked like he should have got it, but it was like the refs got treated really badly, and it was by people who would never ever give up their time to referee. And it's just like, and they were all jumping on the bandwagon, and it was just kind of like
when one person starts, especially because Tom Martin's such a well liked figure,
and people probably
felt protective over him, and I didn't know that was the case. I mean, you got to be civil and human. We're human, and like everyone makes mistakes, but you can be allowed to say that's a bad decision. Yeah, but you don't need to get vindictive.
It got out of hand though. It was just like
I was unaware that it got nasty or whatever with that.
I think, but on that note, you know what? Bad calls are going to happen. You got a responsibility as a ref, but even like with football, you're going to get like an offside call that's wrong every now and again, and it's just human error. But it's not going to be so badly wrong that it's the equivalent of a 6-inch high squat.
I just don't like the attitude that you can't say anything about it. Oh, armchair referee, you don't know nothing. Take a referee's course if you want to be a referee. It's like, hold on a minute, like
you're allowed to have an opinion.
I'd like to think I know what the rules of powerlifting are, and like when something's obviously not something that should be passed. So why am I made to feel like I can't say anything about that?
As long as you're being civilised, you should definitely be allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah, and I want to actually, I just wanted to voice my opinion on it, because I feel that strongly about actually getting powerlifting to be a better standard. And at the moment, the way the UK's going, there's only one federation that I'd compete in. Obviously, I can't compete in the IPF for obvious reasons. Yeah. But it's the GPC. Yeah. And now, like, moving on to like a more positive note, from what I've seen that they're doing, I'm sorry, but it's night and day. Like the differences from their British Championships and how they're the judging people's lifts, it seems to be spot on. So like, that's, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm lifting in an untested federation in the UK, that's the federation that I will be going into.
And like, just to give her a bit of a shout out, the person who I think needs a lot of credit for that is Tanya George, the GPC referee, and I think a few years ago she actually pulled some of the refs up on the fucking judging standards, because maybe some lifters were getting white lights who shouldn't, and lifters can be sometimes aggressive towards the referees, and Tan will give it back like tenfold. So I think she's a good ref to have in the GPC, because she will not pass high squats.
You know what? Like sometimes it might feel as if the bigger the weight, the bigger the lifter, the more pressure there is to pass the lift. But I think they should be the opposite. Yeah. The bigger the lifter, the bigger the lift, the more prestigious, the stricter it should be, because it means more. Boris Shiko, when he went to ref Thor's powerlifting meet, he actually said to him, with you, I'm going to be more strict than I've ever been with anybody, because you're so well known, and the weights you're going to be lifting are like all-time record standard, that I can't afford my reputation to be smeared by giving you a 50-50, giving you a lift that shouldn't have been given. And he was very harshly judging, and maybe the lifts that he did, I don't really remember, you saw him.
I did see them, I think he got called reds on one of his squats, didn't he? Or two of his squats even. Did he?
Yeah, maybe
he definitely didn't get a squat.
He got his second, and he might not have got his first. But like, even at like, Pro Raw, I think he probably would have got his third squat, which would have like bumped him up another few notches. I think he would have been second all the time with that. But anyway, I think. But talking about the GPC, one thing that I can't really say much about it, but I'm like privy to something that's happening in the background, which sounds really good. They're going to be putting on a Pro Raw-esque style competition next year with prize money. So I think they're looking at having 6 weight classes for the men, 4 weight classes for the women, looking at about $1,000 to the winner of each weight class, both men and women, and then a separate best. Well, I don't know what the coefficiency score they use. I think it's Reschel they use in GPC.
Yeah, Rochelle, yeah.
They've got to be 750 quid for the best Reschel and 750 quid for the best tall for men and women. So
that's good. Good that they had prize money at the British as well. I know there was some controversy about the discrepancy between the equipped and the raw prize money, but let's not go. Was the
equipped less?
The equipped was like way less.
I suppose it's the same argument that you'd have for like, I don't know, might upset some more people. Female tennis and male tennis. It's like what brings the most money in. Yeah, is the more competitors.
I think that was what they based it on. Yeah, but I guess it's kind of like a never-ending argument because you can make arguments for or against.
Yeah. But I can see why they did that, and I'm raw. So
before, if you're raw, you're not going to care as much, are you? Before we move on,
that's back end of next year.
Just in terms of my opinions on this.
You got to be neutral.
I'm not actually going to, due to like the position I'm in terms of with the magazine and stuff, like I probably should be somewhat neutral. I always consider both sides anyway, but in terms of what I'm actually doing, I will go back to the Irish Pro next year, honestly, regardless of what the judging's like, because now I know that I can squat 6 inches higher now. No.
2,000 kilogram total, here I come.
No, I'm going to go back next year, regardless of what judging's like, because I feel like I was actually 8th on Glossbrenner or whatever it's called, raw with wraps, and I was 6th in terms of actual total, and I just feel like I got beat by a lot of lifters who I shouldn't get beat by.
You need some redemption, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to carry that on, but it will always be that if I just carry on my sleeve stuff, that they will have always beaten me. And because they'll never go to sleeves, they'll always be in wraps, so they'll always beaten me. And I'd just like to be able to...
You want to make amends? Is that
that kind of thing, yeah. And because I enjoyed the weekend in general.
Yeah.
I know that shouldn't be the reason for going back somewhere as a competition, but...
you know what? If it was just a middle of the pack kind of deal for me, well, like irregardless, I wouldn't have been at the top. Maybe it wouldn't have stung as much, but It was quite a bitter pill to swallow, to the way it went from like injury to like then losing out, and then it's been a build up. It's not just been this competition. You remember the last podcast I was talking about how I was knocked off, like my record was knocked off because of a bad call, and it's been like a series of events, and
same thing happened again.
Yeah, but this time it's worse, and like I say, it's the straw that broke the camel's back. But please don't hate me, everyone. I am just. It's my opinion.
Your opinion is your opinion.
And I'm only saying what I think is truthful. And if the truth hurts your feelings, I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's talk about really like the premise behind your opinions and the premise behind the way you feel. What I've noticed more than anything in the last year is how high your expectations are for yourself. Like the standard you hold yourself to as a lifter. Like I've even like heard you saying some things that you want to do, being like, well, it's great that he has those ambitions, but I thought they were slightly unlikely, and 2, I thought surely you should be happy with
what I've done,
with what you've done. Which you've just hauled 1,000 kilos, regardless of who's done it before. It's a milestone that should be like celebrated, really, in my opinion. And it might just be that you're more ambitious than I am. It might just be that. But at the same time, do you not feel like you could look back on it and be like, shit, there's a lot of this that I didn't enjoy that I didn't let myself enjoy because I was so harsh on myself? There's nothing wrong with being harsh on yourself, but you should also recognise
I can't turn it off. I can't. It's not something that I have control over. Once I know, I think I'm fairly realistic in what my expectations were. I think, judging from my training, I don't think it was unrealistic to potentially, you know, have a 410 squat.
No, when I saw you training, it seemed realistic.
And have a 230 bench and then a 400 kilo deadlift. I've been managing to hold on to 400 kilos for 12, 15 seconds, which had been one of my limiting factors, grip. And the way I'm moving deadlifts, I think if I look at that 372, I'd expect there at least to be 390 there. So when you know what I feel I know I'm capable of, I don't think I want to hype up my own numbers and chuck silly numbers out there that are just like, don't be stupid. And I put a total of 1,030 to 1,040, and I've hit 30 to 40 kilos underneath what my target was. I can't be pleased with that. I just can't.
I understand where you're coming from, but part of that was due to the fact that you saw your hamstring. Regardless of what you're capable of, you've picked a day and time. You've picked a date and time to do something.
Yeah,
and
that's
how can you? You can have some control over not injuring yourself, but like you can't have complete control over it. You can't have complete control over the fact that the guy before you dumped the bar and that you didn't get the extra 10 kilos on the squat. Do you know what I mean? So obviously there's always going to be, you will have perfect days. You totally will have perfect days. But you won't have perfect days. You won't have perfect days every time. And I guess what I'm talking about more is, are you more disappointed that you didn't hit the numbers, or are you more disappointed that you didn't win? Because if you're more disappointed that you didn't win, then you're basing your performance off someone else's performance.
No. It's never been that. I've always said, like, if I finish dead last and I get the numbers I wanted, I'm buzzing. And it was the feeling of, I'm just gutted that I didn't get to do what I thought I could do. My motivation, I felt like this for a while now. I felt underestimated as a lifter in the UK for the last 6 months to a year. I felt as if my pro raw total was under what I was capable of at the time, and I just feel as if I've like been a lifter that's not. I mean, one of the biggest driving factors for anybody in a sport is recognition. And I just wanted to prove what I could do, and that's the overwhelming kind of sadness for me from this meet. It's not that I didn't win. It's like I wanted to show what I could do. Like I know I can do better, but I can't unless it's there. Unless I do it, it's like no one's going to believe me. The positives I can take is I totaled 1,000 kilos, and the lifts that I did, apart from my bench, was a grind. They were quite easy.
Yeah,
they were. The squat was smooth, not particularly easy, but it was a smooth rep. The deadlift was easy, and I hopefully displayed that there's more in the tank, but it's still not enough. I needed to do it. I wanted, like, my motivation was like to just prove what I can do, and until I feel like I get that to a degree, I'm not satisfied, and a part of me knows that I'm never going to be satisfied. I said to you at the last podcast, like, I don't look always to the next competition, and you got to like try and get rid of that mentality. Why not look further down the line? I think I said, like, in a couple of years, I want to be up around 1,100 kilos, and I see no reason why that's still not within the realms of possibility. 1,060 to 1,100 at 125. I'm quite a well-balanced lifter. The lifts nothing's really stalled or hit a plateau. If I could keep my hamstring together and hold on to the bar, I know there's like 20 or 30 kilos there. So I don't see why it's unrealistic to expect that. But I just can't. I can't help. I'm always striving to be better, and I can't get the mentality of that'll do. This, that, and the other. It's just, I don't know. It's just something I can't change.
One of the things that I've mentioned this on a previous episode, but the Lily Bridges, the dad, Ernie Senior, said one of his quotes was, "Always content, never satisfied."
Yes.
So content with the fact that you put in the work in, that you're making progress, But like satisfaction just means that you give up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like you can't be satisfied. Even if you're doing this even if you are doing it as a hobby, you can't really be satisfied.
Even if I had the perfect day, maybe I would have looked at it and gone, 2.5 kilos. I would have been content, but I would have been like, do you know what? I might have had a bit more there.
There's always a way in which you can improve.
That's what's
definitely.
so addictive about it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think if making it purely philosophical, I think as humans, if we don't have anything to set goals towards or improve forwards, I think that's when for a lot of people the mental health stuff starts to kick in.
Post competition blues,
stuff like that. Yeah, because you don't have a goal at that point.
Yeah,
or you might have a goal, but it's
I get obsessed. 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out. That's when I start giving myself an indication. I'm hitting the sets that goes, right, am I on track to hit this? Because I don't go very heavy very often. It's only in those last 6 weeks. And I am number crunching every day. I'm driving to work. I'm thinking, if I hit that, I hit this. And I'm visualising what I could pull, what I could lift, where I could total, where I could be on the all-time list. And then all of a sudden, you do your competition. Oh, it stopped. And you're just like there in like limbo, in no man's land.
Yeah.
And it does, like at work, I'm struggling for motivation just to work. I was back to work Monday and I'm struggling to get into it. And that's why I set the next competition as soon as I can. I'm looking into that now.
So let's talk about that then. What's your next competition? Is it Kern?
Well, I don't know. My coach is coming over from Australia this weekend, and we're going to talk about it. One of the things I don't like in powerlifting is the 24-hour weigh-in, and like the weight manipulation, especially on competitions that are based on a Wilks formula style, because you can massively manipulate what your weight is to get a higher score. And it's perfectly within the rules. No one's cheating. You know, if you want to do that, and those are the rules, you can do it. But I just don't morally agree with it. I don't like, if you want to say that you weigh, I totaled 1,000 kilos or 125 or 1,000 kilos or 110, whatever it is. I know everyone does it for the 24-hour weigh-in, but there's people who lose like 12 kilos.
Yeah.
And it's not an accurate representation. If you weighed in under 90 and then you actually weigh 100 kilos on the day, and then like you're telling everyone, well, let's say, I don't know, I don't want to go close to what everybody actually did. Say if you weighed 100 kilos for weigh-in, and the next day you weigh over 110, which is the next weight class up, which people can do. You're gonna, and you total 1,000, and you're telling everyone 10 times body weight total. No, you're not. No, it's not.
Yeah,
so, it's not. You walked around on that day when you lifted those weights at 112 kilos, which is above the next weight category, and I just don't agree with that. So the thing with, like, I have announced that I'm going to do Kern, and I've paid my entry fee for Kern. I've not paid for my flights or accommodation yet, and I'm not 100% decided, but it doesn't sit with me very well that it's a 24-hour weigh-in and the main prize is Wilks. And I love the Pro Raw formula. I love big dogs, and I love Pro Raw. And Pro Raw, I'm like, it'd be stupid for me to do big dogs at the moment, even though I think, now I can with 1,000 kilo total. But it's absolute weight that wins, and it's a 2-hour weigh-in. 2-hour weigh-in for Pro Raw, and no Wilks comes into it. You are what you are to a degree, and if you're going to risk a water cut like that, you're definitely not going to cut 10 kilos because you're going to be absolutely knackered on the day and not have 24 hours to rehydrate. And everything about it's hard for me to go elsewhere when I think that ticks so many boxes. I think they've got it so right that I'm struggling to want to go anywhere else. But there's the whole like new experience, and it'll be slightly cheaper and easier.
As well, you've been second there. Now's an opportunity to try and come first. Do you know what I mean? Just to tick that box off. You've not won it yet.
I mean, I must admit, it would be extremely tough to win Pro Raw next year. There's the South African lifter called Nicholas Dupreez.
I think I've heard of him.
He is phenomenal.
Is he the guy who's got a good physique on him?
Oh yeah, he looks like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
He's well under 125, 122, 123. He's got 1,030 kilo total, and he's a beast. And it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. He's like the next Larry Wheels, like Eric Lillibridge. As far as I'm concerned, he's the guy to beat in the world in the 125s right now, and he's competing there. So I will have to pull something special out of the bag to be able to beat him. But that's what I enjoy. I enjoy going against the best. That's another thing. I don't really know. I can't really say anything about the judging standards or anything like that. Kern, I've not really watched it, but I just get a feeling that, or I've been kind of told that like the lifters at Pro Raw get treated a little bit better, like the warm-up room and everything's a little bit better.
I've heard nothing but good stuff
from both, or
from Pro Raw.
Right, yeah. I don't know so much about Kern.
I've not heard anything about Kern. In fact, I heard of one or two negative comments, and that's not for me to jump on them because I don't have my own opinions on that particular subject. But I've heard about the platform at Kern. I've heard one year they had the wrong bar, but I've never heard anything like that about Pro Raw. So I guess.
Yeah, so it's up in the air at the moment. I mean, the benefit. I love the country, Australia. I didn't even do any sightseeing when I was over there. I was only there for like 7 or 8 days, and I just fell in love with the place. And also, my coach and a team of guys will be there to help me on the day.
Absolutely.
I don't know anybody in the US who I could rely on or know that would be able to help me. So that's another thing. So yeah, the whole 24-hour weigh-in and being based on Wilks, it's not something that I'm a fan of. So I'm just weighing up whether it's worth doing it just for the experience, or do I just stick to the competitions that I like the setup and formula for.
Well, I guess you do still have some time to decide before you actually start your prep and make your final.
Got 6 months, and I need to fix my hamstring too first. So yeah, there's no real rush.
It'll be interesting to watch, no matter which one you decide. I think it's getting interesting now with the UK guys going over. You know what I mean? With those guys doing more internationals. And I don't mean like worlds and stuff. I mean like these invitational meets or whatever you want to call them, pro meets. I think it's pretty cool.
I think there does seem to be. There's a lot of good lifters up and coming. I mean, the 125s is a really competitive class. Yeah. I'd probably say the most competitive in the UK at the moment. If you put it together on the day, you learn how to use your wraps, you're right up there. There's Carl Thompson, Grant McEvanson, Reese Fullwood, obviously unreal squatter, and overall all-round lifter. To be honest, I if I chose somebody out of the UK or thinks like my main competition currently, it's him.
Because with Reese is a great. You said Reese, right?
Yeah, Reese Fullwood.
Yeah, with Reese, it's like he's already a good squatter and he probably has potential in the other two. He just needs to kind of bring them on.
He's probably like, as much as he's got his squat is as good as my deadlift, and like he'd probably have me on the squat, but I'd then do him on the deadlift. And at the moment, my bench is a little bit higher, but there's no reason to say that he couldn't catch me up. And I can see, it's when somebody like powerlifting's a 3-lift sport, and it's when they're well-rounded. Yeah. It's just a matter if they can learn the technique, get the programming right, and bring it to start like chipping away. They'll be a good lifter. Yeah. And I can see that in Reese.
That's what I like. The well-rounded lifters. Two guys who spring to mind in the UK are you and Tony Cliff.
Tony Cliff, yeah.
Tony Cliff is
obviously. I didn't mention Tony because he's tested. He wouldn't go to pro. IPF don't let him go into anybody else. But he is a phenomenal lifter.
He could actually do a row with Raps comp if he wanted to, but I don't think he could do a British. I think because like Mark McQueen, for example, he did raw with Raps at whichever Andy Kearney's comp, whichever it was.
GPC,
yeah, it was just like a local comp, and he was perfectly fine. Then going back to, you just can't do a British or an international.
Nothing that's affiliated with another federation. Then is that the problem?
I don't know. Yeah. No, it's just you can do like local GPC or BPU comps. like regional ones, but I don't know if you can do national or international.
I'd love to compete against Tony. He's one of those names, like, to me, he's like a Delroy McQueen.
Yeah.
That's just a class act and a top lifter, and just someone you'd be nice to, like, be there and lift against.
Yeah, I wanna actually get him on the podcast. We had one arranged, but we couldn't make it happen on the day. But soon I'll get him on the podcast. Been looking forward to doing that for quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a few stories. He's been doing it a long time.
He's been doing it for 20 years.
IPF world champion.
Yeah, IPF world champion after 20 years of trying, apparently.
9 for 9 as well. Yeah, but we were buzzing for that.
Yeah, he smoked his squat too. It wasn't like it even looked hard. You know what I mean?
Doing a bit of equip now, though, I think, isn't he?
He's been doing equip. I think he obviously started equip, didn't he? I think equipped is probably his main love.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, equipped is his main love. But I think he dabbles in both of them, which is honestly, I appreciate how hard that is to do. Now that I took 2 years off wraps, I honestly thought I'd come back to wraps and I'd be like, well, it's just fucking wraps. They give you 40 kilos like they always did, but it's not. I don't honestly.
I only feel as if I've truly started learning or feeling like I can get like a good amount of kilos out of them in the last 6 to 9 months, and I've been.
How much do you think you can get out of them?
If I were to estimate a sleeved squat, I don't know. I think I'd probably do a 340, so that's 60 kilos. But the thing is, I've never tested my 1 rep max in sleeves, so it's a really unknown quantity.
Yeah, I had a guy who I was talking to. I don't want to. I don't want to actually say who it was because it makes it seem like I'm saying, he can't get anything out of sleeves. He's not actually a good squatter, but he basically told me that he gets 100 kilos roughly out of his reps.
100?
Yeah.
I've heard like 70. People say 70, but
well, I imagine that he was probably just being a bit humble there and and dumbing down his sleeve squat compared to what it actually is, but.
It's not Alan, was it? I know Alan says he gets a lot out.
No, I'll say it was it was Carl Thompson, obviously, because he squatted 400, hasn't he? And he was saying I only can squat about 300 without. I was like, what?
Surely.
Yeah, it's probably
that was unfortunate that he missed out on the Irish Pro.
Calf, wasn't it?
His calf. If he listens to this, you're going too heavy too often, son. Like literally every week, every other week, it seemed as if he were going for a huge triple, double, or a new 1 rep max. That would be my advice to Carl.
Yeah, he did seem to be every week was a PB type thing.
Yeah,
and a low rep PB at that.
And I've done a video about that on my Instagram and like maybe why you should try and stray away from that a little bit. I think we're both similar. You probably didn't watch it because it was like 7 minutes long, but
no, I did watch it actually. Yeah, I watch most of your Instagram live stuff. If I ever give your Instagram live stuff a like, it's because I've actually watched all of it. I won't just be like, oh, I'll just be nice and like it. You know, I have actually watched it.
I do that sometimes. I read the number. I'm like, all right, good. There you go.
He's a nice guy.
Like for like. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So getting on to some of the other topics that I mean, you got like a lot of questions for us, didn't you, when you put the thing up on Instagram?
Big deal now, 1,000 kilo.
Nutrition. Was the first one. So someone wants to know about what you do on nutrition.
Nutrition. I mean, I'll have to be honest. For the last 3 or 4 months, it has before 3 or 4 months ago, it was very much a kind of what's the Stan Efferding diet like? What's it called? Vertical. It was kind of vertical diet. So beef, rice, chicken stock with like carrots and rice, like 3 times a day. And my daily nutrition would be, the daily food would be like granola with protein shake in the morning. Simple reason, like carbs and protein and easy to like.
Just time. You want to get out of the house at that time in the morning. You don't want to be sat down eating and then be like, oh shit, I'm late.
Cooking, like there's only so many times and so much meal prep that I want to do. So like whey protein, it has its places to get some protein into the diet. mid-morning would be a bagel and 3 and 4 eggs, boiled eggs. And then 12 o'clock, chicken and rice, 200 grams of rice and 200 grams of beef with chicken stock and salt. Salt, sodium, massive thing to ensure that you're getting into your diet. It's one of the people cramp up. Like it's like, I think people associate salt and sodium with it being a bad thing, and when you're trying to perform and lift heavy weights, it's a very important thing to make sure you're having there, because if you're cramping up or you're dehydrated, you're more likely to get injured.
It's a very old myth now, I think. I don't know when it'll actually start to be weeded out in
After this podcast.
I was going to say like just the general population that sodium is going to kill you, but I think just even bodybuilders are like, they'll diet for a show and they'll go low sodium because they think it makes them hold water, but they don't realize that you have hormones which regulate in your body which adapt to the amount of sodium you take in. So
see, that's a bit more in. I didn't know that.
But it's like, you know, if you think about it, like our food that we used to get from the ground and stuff used to be way more dense in sodium, you know, than It's
only sodium might only be a problem if you every single meal is like a ready meal.
Yeah,
and even then it's like,
and if you're not,
probably not the worst thing.
And if you're not an athlete, and if you're not like sweating it out like we are, we need to replenish what we lose.
I'm sweating doing this podcast. I need some salt. I need some salt now.
But that's because you've just slagged off every single.
I've just lost 3,000 followers on Instagram.
You only had 2,000 to start with.
Yeah. So what was it? At 12 o'clock, beef and rice, and then I have that I have another one at 2 o'clock. Then I normally train at like 4 to 5, and again before I train, I put salt in my actual water that I drink whilst I'm training. And if I have a pre-workout, I'll put it in that too. Just because I used to suffer badly with cramps, especially when I was benching, and ever since I've started doing this, it totally stops.
Have you ever tried the effervescent electrolyte tabs, which have like about 250, 300 milligrams of sodium in them? No,
the only thing I do like on competition days, I use the Duralite.
Yeah, so it's similar thing. Yeah. It's just that rather than putting salt in, it has a flavour to it, and it just makes it so much. It makes you drink more water, I find, as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just nice too. It's just like adding sodium, but it's just a nice way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I just thought I'd say that I may have just like butchered my facts there about the fact that soil used to have more salt and more sodium in it. It might have had more of other beneficial minerals in it. So
I was looking at it, was soil salty?
No. I mean it. This is like an old fact that I picked up, so I might be wrong there.
Yeah.
I just rather than people just going, what the fuck is he talking about? I just thought I would.
Don't dwell on. Let's move on. Like they won't even.
Yeah. People are getting bored by me anyway.
And then so I have 3 beef and rice meals a day, and then before I go to bed again, I'll have.
It's getting dark in it.
It is. And then I'll have some granola again and with the whey protein, and that would be my day-to-day food, which I think is about 5,000 calories, just over. But I must admit, our last 3 or 4 months, it's not always been beef. It's just been chicken and rice instead of beef and rice instead. But the same principles, 3 meals a day, and I make sure I get a couple of bananas in as well for the potassium. And it's very repetitive. At the same times, it's like 8, 10, 12, 2. Train at 4 and I probably have a banana just before I train, and then I eat at like 6:30 and then at 8:30, and that's my day. One of my pet peeves when I see bigger, I think we're kind of like almost in the fat boy class, the 125s.
Speak for yourself.
Our body composition isn't that bad, considering we're about 20 stone.
We're a lot closer to filling out the weight class with muscle than a lot of other guys are.
And one of my absolute pet peeves is when I see big, heavy powerlifters posting their meals and it's like 14 sausages and hash browns and a load of tomato ketchup. Well, tomato ketchup's probably not they've probably got salt in it. Good on them. But just a load of filth, like pure grease and carbs and no real nutrition in it, and go carbing up for my squat session. And I just think, are you not considering your health? You're like, if you're over 125 kilos and you're eating that kind of stuff, it's not good. It's not. You shouldn't be bragging about it online. You shouldn't be encouraging other people to like eat like that. My ethos with powerlifting is never restrict yourself. Always, whilst training for strength, always allow yourself to grow. Never be in a calorie deficit. This is just my own approach to it. But then after you've finished your competition, that's when you sort your health out, your body composition. Have a period where you're in a calorie deficit and look after your health. Like, allow yourself to grow, but never get too heavy and overweight that you're actually sacrificing your health, because we've only got one life, and powerlifting's not worth a heart attack at 45 years old.
Yeah, I think it's quite apparent that a lot of people are playing quite a short game with powerlifting. They're not looking at the long game. I think they're hammering the massively calorie dense food, and they're massively overeating, like you were just saying there, and they're hammering other things.
I don't want to hold a load of unnecessary weight. No. Mass does help move mass, but at a certain
point, you want your strength gains to be proportionate with the amount of weight that you've actually put on your body, rather than just going, oh, well, I need another 10 kilos on my bench, so I'll go up to the 140 class.
Yeah,
like, that's not worth it.
I'm sure I could total more if I did go up to the 140s. But the thing is, you know what? I said I want to total X amount in the 125s. I will not restrict myself to the 125s as long as I can remain in a marginal of health. I will, if needs be, I'll go up to 140 and be like 130 or something, and lift in the 140s, just to allow my body to grow and reach its potential. I just feel as if one of the most common mistakes is two things. One, just eating a load of shit to put a load of weight on that's unnecessary, and looking at your short-term goals. And the other end of the spectrum is staying in a weight class and not eating enough to allow your body to reach its potential.
Yeah, I think just to add to what you said there about when you see them posting like the McDonald's or whatever to carb up, and it's like the thing that I find funny about that as well. You're not actually carbing up, because what the food you've got there is it's very fatty. It's like you're restricting your actual ability to carb up by the fact that you're eating such fatty food. That's not really carbing up. You're just having an excuse to have just a junk meal.
Here's a good question, because I don't know what you did for this. What was your approach to keeping yourself fueled on competition day? Because one of the questions was, biggest mistakes made on competition day.
Okay, so on competition day, I normally would have had 1,000 grams of carbs a day before that. Kept my fats moderate and kept my protein moderate, so my glycogen reserves are full by that point. I will wake up and I will normally just top up my liver glycogen, because that's all that's going to be depleted. So just have a high-ish carb breakfast, but one which isn't going to make you feel like shit, but one which is quite fatty, so it'll digest quite slowly, and also quite high in salt, so add the salt.
So would you say on a competition day, maybe
just a standard breakfast,
like a fry-up, but not too...
Yeah,
some bacon, some eggs, some with bagels.
Bacon and eggs, perfect, yeah. Actually for this one, because as you know, I only had a George Foreman and a microwave. I just had...
About some porridge?
Beef burgers and rice I had.
You have some beef burgers and rice?
Beef burgers and rice for breakfast, yeah.
Yeah.
So beef and rice for breakfast. It was a vertical breakfast by default, because I didn't have a kitchen. But yeah, with added salt, so it was just nice complex carbs, which are just not make me feel like shit. And also I had some orange juice with that. I have fruit pretty much with all of my meals.
In fact, that's something I like with my nutrition. I'll have orange and mango, best juice ever. I like to up the calories. That is something that I add in.
And as well, you've got all your other your micronutrients in there as well. So about 100 grams of carbs for breakfast. moderate protein, moderate fat. And then just throughout the day then, all I do, really, I will have some protein after squats because I feel like, okay, you've just done something massive and you probably need a bit of, you've probably broken down. So, yeah, I could have skipped the protein drink in retrospect. The only other protein I'll have is like after squats. And other than that, basically, I just keep my blood sugar kind of topped up throughout the day with things like sports drinks, so Gatorade, Powerade. I'll have some Rice Krispie Squares, some like salted snacks, like whether you
Bananas?
Yeah, the odd piece of fruit, the odd banana. Obviously, that's... I tend to... I mean, I'll prioritise sodium more, but obviously you need the others.
Yeah,
too.
it's just electrolytes, isn't it?
Yeah,
basically?
And those electrolyte tabs that I was talking about, I'll put those in my water to get about 1 gram of sodium per litre. And basically, just go through the day like that. And if I feel, I'll be honest, like this time I just felt really, really hungry, and I'd literally nearly eaten through all my food, so I went to the burger van and got a burger before deadlifts. Like,
do you know what? That's remarkably similar to what I did and what my approach is. My approach is like 2 base like meals.
Yeah.
One like in the morning, one after squats, because that's when it doesn't matter if you're got a bit of food in your stomach when you're benching.
Yeah.
So those 2 base meals, I'd normally go with like eggs, bacon, with some porridge, and some fruit juice in the morning, and like a banana, and then probably not eat until after squats, but I'm on my hydration capsule. The Duralights. I get obsessed with staying hydrated because I think that's like the biggest reason people get injured. Obviously, I got injured. Shit happens anyway, but I will do everything I can do to try and make that less likely. So 2 base meals, like getting your electrolytes in with banana and your hydration with your Duralights I use with your drinks. Something after squats, and I think I also had a burger because it was just there and it was like carbs, beef, whatever. And then I had Rice Krispie Squares, and it was just little chocolate raisins. Sometimes I have had a pre-workout before deadlifts because that's the only time I'll have something like that, because if I have something earlier, I don't want to go up to come down.
Yeah.
But I left it a bit late warming up. And I didn't have a chance to do that.
I've got to be honest, like when you're talking about the pre-workout there and the energy levels, I think that's something that I'm starting to suffer with, and the reason why I'm starting to underperform at comps now, when I've looked at it, it's probably my programming, but that I just need to switch it up. But
did you have a pre-workout?
Mate, that's probably what I did wrong. See, when I first started powerlifting, what I used to do was like high-fat, low-carb breakfast was quite in vogue in bodybuilding at the time, and it was like seen as like the best way to keep you like mentally keep yourself kind of a bit more energized and a bit more sharp. So I always used to do that. I used to do like a really high fat breakfast because I'd carved up the day before, so my glycogen reserves and my muscle glycogen was full. You don't need a ton of liver glycogen to do powerlifting because it's not an endurance event. It's not like you're going to bonk like you would in an endurance sport. So the theory was that, and I would never have a pre-workout or coffee before I squatted, and I would save the coffee for later in the day.
Yeah.
Or not the coffee, but the
caffeine or pre-workout, whatever it is, the energy.
And I always used to do better at meets than I would in training. Whereas like now, I think I take probably too much caffeine for training, and I think I just really hammer myself with the stimulants as well during the competition, and I think it's making me like almost quote unquote blow my load in comp too early. Well, I do that in life too, but it was just something that I'm thinking about doing. So at the minute, I've kind of cut caffeine out, and I've tried some. I'm going to try some nootropics for a while, see if I can just lower the amount of caffeine I need to train on, down to 0 basically, and then try and do what I used to do: carb up the day before, have a low carb breakfast, see with high fat, see if it helps my energy levels, squat without any pre-workout, and then I can put the pre-workout in either for deadlifts or bench, and then I can be really getting the full benefit from it.
Yeah, okay. So that I think that'd be like probably
we're similar in terms of nutrition. We're definitely very similar in terms of what we do. Like Yeah.
I think because we both, like, I didn't do as well as you did, but I did start with bodybuilding before I did powerlifting. And I think the principles that it teaches you, near enough giving you an eating disorder, if you've got to do bodybuilding, it allows you to find the nutrition side probably easier, because you know it's nothing in comparison to what you have to do.
And in a way, I think like now, if we knew what we knew through powerlifting, I think Stan has shed a lot of light on stuff, to be fair, for powerlifters. I think that would be quite useful for bodybuilders in an off season, because I think bodybuilders are almost too restrictive in off seasons. Like people, like we were saying, who still keep the sodium low. You are literally like stifling your gains so badly.
Yeah.
And they say
knowledge is power in this game, in any game really, because you see people that have got the work ethic, but they don't have the knowledge to be able to direct that work in the right direction. So it's a lot of wasted energy sometimes. I think one of the questions I got asked on my Facebook, one of my Facebook posts was, what do you think's helped me make progression? What was I missing before I started coaching with Sebastian, or Australian strength coach? Call him Baz. It feels weird calling him Sebastian. And it's just, I think a couple of things. One was, when somebody takes over your programming, you get less, and you just do it. I think we're all a little bit guilty of getting sucked into like hitting a little rep PB and wanting to like give ourselves an indication that we're getting stronger. And he's made although the principles were very similar, he's made my training more boring, which has helped me keep in an area where I can focus on improving my technique, stay injury free in training, but still at an intensity where I'm gradually getting stronger.
Yeah. He seems to, from what I see from you and from what I see from Thor, the two guys who I know of, who I follow, that he coaches.
Shout out Graham Hicks.
Sorry, Graham.
I speak to him most days now.
Definitely wasn't intentional.
He told me to give him a shout out on this.
Shout out Graham Hicks. From what I know, he holds you guys back a little bit with your training. Obviously not with your progress, because you all progress.
I think personally they should always be a couple of reps left in the tank until it gets to like the testing period. That's how I see it. I think there's two stages. There's like a stage where you're working on all different areas, your technique, your work capacity, and hypertrophy to a degree that just comes with it. And whilst you're in that area, you want to be keeping a couple of reps in reserve to allow yourself to be able to focus on those things and make the risk of injury less. Because if you work in a level where you know you've got the set and you just have to execute it perfectly, you know, you're ingraining good motor patterns and being able to focus on the things you're trying to correct in your own form. And then later on the process is when you start peaking, and when you actually start conditioning your body to handle the heavier weights. And I think the longer you can spend in the boring area, the more you will see when you come to actually conditioning the body and like actually testing how much stronger have I got. Because I've said this in the Instagram video, but you know, you don't have to get any stronger if you improve your technique to lift more weight. You're less likely to get injured if you're working at a capacity where you're not pushing yourself to the extremes, and you're still at an intensity which is still going to get you stronger. You're still going to get your stimulus. If I can rep like 260 for 5 reps or 6 sets of 6 or something on squats, that's fairly easy for me, especially in wraps. It's still 260. It's still like, you're
still giving your body that stimulus.
Yeah, it's still like, and One of the most common things I see with people that they make, and maybe I was a bit guilty of doing, is wanting to do like a new 5 rep max or a new volume PB, because it gives you I didn't do that before, so I must be stronger.
Yeah.
The less you concentrate on that, and the more you focus on the boring stuff, I think the better the more you will benefit in the long term.
So you would say that the really the main benefit that Baz has given you is giving you that more, just reining you in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I mean, I've been to, I've learned, I've quizzed him. I've been to like this. This will be the 3rd seminar I've been to this weekend.
Right.
I've really learned a lot. So as well as that, just the basic. If you're looking at the programming for the squat, bench, and deadlift, there's those factors, but how he approaches the accessory, every single exercise that is on that program, I know exactly why I'm doing it. I know what I'm strengthening that muscle for. I know that it's giving me stability, or I know that it's it's hitting an area that I'm not hitting in the main movement that will benefit my squat. So I have a deeper understanding of why I'm training the way I do.
Yep.
So I'm more motivated and
more confident in what's going to happen.
Yeah,
as well,
and I
results.
concentrate on the form, and I execute everything as good as I can. So I've become a lot better at doing the small things. The activation, I do activation work for 20 minutes before I even start training, and like all these fluffy movements or external rotation, and I'm laying on the floor doing clams. I think you came a bit late, but if you would have seen me before I started squatting, I've got bands out, I'm mobilising my ankles, I'm opening my hips, I'm doing side planks. People are probably looking at me thinking, what is that daft twat doing? Watch this 400 squat, I'll show you.
No, I even though I don't think I came late. I think I was over the other side warming up. So
did you actually see me doing any of that?
No, I was just over the other side of the room, because you were near the monolift. I was just as out of the way as possible. But no, I'm all for the activation stuff as well. And something that a guy, you might have heard the one with Jack Levette, the 2 we did with Jack Levette. He's a strength coach up in the northeast. He's very good, and he likes to do a lot of maybe some power work, like 3 sets of like plyometric stuff, like 3 sets of 5 or something, like maybe box jumps before you squat.
Yeah,
because it says it almost has a
just
pre-workout effect.
Yeah,
it just stimulates your nervous system to be explosive.
Yeah, and when I say activation work and stuff, it is literally, it's not anything to fatigue a muscle. It's just to get it firing. All sorts of benefits to that. So yeah, if I look at the whole picture, I could talk for an hour on every single movement, but it's a deeper understanding of why I'm training the way I do, putting me in an area that is restricting me and making me do the more important stuff, and being able to improve my technique. Obviously, he's a world-class coach. He works with some of the best athletes in the world, and when he's telling me to correct my technique and explaining why, and I'm seeing the benefit now that, like, my squat, I've improved my technique loads, and that's the one I put 45 kilos on my squat in a year.
So I mean, obviously, like, I follow your stuff online quite a lot, and with Baz, I see maybe 1 or 2 flirtatious comments. So could there be something more there? Maybe
I think we've got. I think one of the things that I've always liked about Baz is, like, he's a good lifter. He gets good results, but he's funny. He doesn't take himself too seriously. We've got a similar sense of humour, and I consider him a friend. Whenever he's over in the UK, we try and meet up. And it's we have a similar sense of humour. So we joke about touching each other's penises and being male lovers.
So you don't mind the long distance?
No, because he sends me nudes. Okay, that keeps me ticking over.
and your significant others don't mind. They're happy for you to.
No, she actually really likes it. Because I'm not pestering her. No, but yeah, we get on well.
And in terms of coaching with him, what level is it? Does he get videos of every session?
Yeah, I literally, like, what I do, I record my, if I've got like 6 sets or something, I'll record the first, the third, and the 6th. I'll just record, like, anything. I record at least a couple of working sets, and and I send that across to him, and it's just voice notes. I'll just go, hey mate, even if it's a nothing session, I'll go, felt all right, here they go. But we've got to this stage now where it's very little work. He's happy with my technique. We know what we're working on. It doesn't need to be a great deal of interaction now, because we're, you know, he's taught me.
He only needs to tell you what to do. He doesn't need to tell you so much.
Yeah.
How to implement it anymore. That kind of thing. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, he'll probably only say something where something's gone wrong, and recently in training, not
rarely does for you these days, does it?
No.
I think that's probably the reason why you're progressing so much. One of the reasons why you're progressing so much, because it doesn't seem like you have many setbacks. You've got your hamstring. You had one tear right at the start of the prep. You had one tear now. But that's really about it that I've seen where you've
the hamstrings, like it's the fourth time it's gone. It was something that was there before, but I think it's scar tissue that I just need to get out properly. And if we both know that I snatch a little bit at the deadlift bar, that's why, I don't know if you ever noticed, there's a lull. Like I go to pull it, and then it's like, and then everyone's like, he hasn't got it, and then like half a second, it's like, oh, it's moving, oh, it's easy. What was that? And I think that's to do with you not pulling enough slack out of the bar, and it's something I am continuously working on, and that could contribute to the hamstring. So, yeah, I mean, that's the only issue I've got, but I'm working on it, and just you can only work on what you've given.
Yeah. Okay, so switching, I want to ask you about CPAPs, or sleeping with a CPAP.
Yeah. What specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, well, the reason why I got it and how I found it?
No, just how you found it, because, like, basically, mate, I get roughly 5 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah. Without a CPAP?
Without a CPAP. I've never tried a CPAP. I get 5 hours of sleep a night.
Do you snore?
I do snore, yeah.
Yeah. You're tossing and turning in the night, turning over a lot?
Not really. It's just basically when I wake up, I just cannot get back to sleep a lot of the time. And, like, I just see people who can have lions, and, like, I'll try. Sure, if I've not got anything to do, I'll try. But it's kind of like, fair enough, I do go to bed a bit too late, and I could rectify that. But I've noticed that when I have gone to bed earlier, I just wake up earlier. And it's like, I've read up that there's, like, a type of insomnia associated with sleep apnea, whereby people with sleep apnea wake up earlier and can't get back to sleep. But I probably have sleep apnea because I'm a big guy, just like you are, just like
you're slightly shorter than me, and you're about the same body weight.
Yes,
so I'd be surprised if you didn't, to be honest, because you probably got more muscle than me as well. That's ludicrous. No, you haven't.
That was really easy, to be fair. That was what I was.
It's just proved that size isn't always strength, isn't it?
Yeah, but, like, at the end of the comp, when you're disappointed because you've not got the total you wanted, I'm disappointed too, but at least I look good. No, right, CPAPs. Okay.
Yeah, so, the reason I got the CPAP machine is I kind of like, it came to a point when, like, I was absolutely knackered. I'd gone up to the 125 class. I was snoring a lot. My missus was just, like, getting really annoyed with me, and for like a few weeks I'd realised I was so tired, and then I was, like, turning over at night, and you don't, like, it's weird that I didn't even realise what was happening, but basically I was like, you know what sleep, for those who don't know what sleep apnea is, it's when you go to sleep and your windpipe closes, so you basically stop breathing, and then you will wake up. And this was happening to me, but I had no idea. And all I'd know is I'd woke up, so I'd turn over and I'd go straight back to sleep. And I'd do that about 20 or 30 times through the night. And until I'd, like, kind of read up what sleep apnea was, you don't remember a dream sometimes. I forgot that I'd, like, been rolling over 30 times during the evening. And I kind of just, like, realised I've got sleep apnea. Like, and I was 2 or 3 months out from Pro Raw, and I knew if I went to the doctors at the NHS, they were just going to go, you need to lose weight or whatever. And I didn't have the time to wait. The Pro Raw was a big competition, and I ordered one. And I found somewhere that I could get one from. I bought it, and I put it on, and it was a mask that went over my nose, not my mouth, just my nose. The first night I put it on, I didn't sleep very well. I'd literally been walking around like a zombie for the last 2 weeks. Probably slept 4 hours, 5 hours, and I do normally get 8. I'll go to bed at 10 o'clock and I get up at 6, 7. That's something that I really like. It's one of the other things that I like for recovery. I'm like a bit obsessive with like doing stuff like that.
That's one of my downfalls, mate.
But if you've got kids, it's always
I can't blame it on my son. It literally is one of my downfalls. Discipline with having my last meal on time and getting to bed on time. I always find something else to do.
Yeah, anyway. Like we could talk about that for thing, but so the first night I put this CPAP, the mask on, I didn't sleep very well, and I woke up. And when I woke up, it felt like I'd had 5 espressos. I was like, ping! Because I'd been used to feeling so tired that's what normal felt like to me. And I got up, and I'd roll out of bed, and my eyes would be closed, and I'd stumble to the first thing I do. I always get up and go to the toilet for a wee, and I normally weigh myself if I'm coming close to a competition to see where I am. And I was wide awake, and I was like, wow. It was a ridiculous difference that it made, and it was the best thing that I've ever invested in, even if not for just training, recovery, because it's hard to quantify, how much I get out of that, but just for general well-being and like work, I was able to do so much work and be more awake, and it made such a huge difference. And I still use it every night, and everywhere I go. I go away for the weekend with Kia.
You take it with you.
That's future Mrs. Bollands. For those who don't know, Kia's just not just a random hoe. She'll love that.
Or you don't mean that's the car that you take?
No, it's not a car, it's a person. So everywhere I go, I take it with me, and I couldn't imagine life without it now.
Right. So, one of the main reasons I was asking you, obviously, I'm thinking of getting one. And speaking, I've known you obviously know who Jordan Peters is, a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
Known him for quite a bit through competing with him like years and years and years ago, going back to like 2011. And I remember he was having a really bad time with sleep apnea. It was severe. He was saying that like he'd be in the kitchen and he'd be drinking a shake, and it'd be on the floor because he'd fall asleep.
Oh, right,
when he was fucking stood up.
Well, I can imagine with somebody with a neck as thick as his.
Yeah.
That would be quite severe sleep apnea.
Yeah. And anyway, he said that when he got a CPAP, he said just things started to turn around, and he said people were wondering like, what are you doing in terms of your strength one year? And he said it was a fucking CPAP. It wasn't anything else. It was a CPAP that made the difference to his strength. So I'd like to know how severely I have the sleep apnea. Well, actually, I wouldn't. I'm probably just going to buy one, but just like you did. But I'd like to know how much difference it would make, if any.
I think do you find it? Well, you won't think you get used to the way you feel.
I know that I'm always a little bit tired.
You always sound tired.
That's why I'm so boring. That's why I'm so boring. If you ever speak to me on like pre-workout, it's so different.
Is it?
Yeah. Amanda Hillary, the lifter. You know.
Adam's missus.
Yeah. Like we're all stood around like after I think it was the deadlift challenge, and I had a pre-workout, and I just felt like really good.
On.
And they were all like, "What the fuck? You're not speaking slowly anymore. What's happened to you?" And I don't think they were comfortable with it in a way. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna get one.
Yeah. I will.
Okay, let's go through some of the other questions. We've already done 1.5 hours. So people, tell you what, mate, pick which one you want to talk about.
So what have we got? Room injury prevention. What haven't we done there? We've done most of them.
We have done most of them. We've not talked about coaches and their like the implications of just because you're a good lifter, you're going to be a good coach.
Yeah, like obviously, I do online coaching, and I like to think that I'm qualified enough to be able to do that. And I didn't start doing it until I'd been with Baz for at least 6 months, and I actually asked him before I even put it out there that I was going to start doing. I asked his advice. I says, look, I'm thinking about doing some online coaching. Do you think I can warrant charging for my expertise? Because it was more of a moral kind of like question. Am I qualified enough to be able to say I will charge for my services as an online coach? I'd learned as much as I could off of Baz, and still I just wanted some reassurance that I wouldn't be another one of those guys out there who, unfortunately there's a lot of, just goes, I can lift a lot, so I can teach you how to be strong. Because the point with that question, it's really good, because I want to make a point, and it'd be very easy for me to sway down the other line now because I've got 1,000 kilo total. But I want to massively make the point that what somebody can lift has no significance at all to how good of a coach they will be. It is so far removed away from that. You know, there's loads of different little bits and questions and that they need to know, and even if they know how to get you strong, or they know like the technique of how somebody should be lifting, being a good lifter and being a good coach are two different skills. It's teaching somebody and getting them to understand how to perform an exercise is a totally different skill. Into being a lifter, it's hard sometimes. You know, I've done a bit of personal training for just powerlifting sessions, and each person's completely individual. You have to like find a way of getting them to understand how to move their body, and like one cue of say trying to keep their knees out whilst they're squatting. You could say externally rotate your knees whilst you're squatting and explain to them how to do that. Or you could say twist your feet out, or you could say open your taint, like, which is, you know, 3 different ways of saying it.
And it's very hard to. I remember when I first started powerlifting properly, and when I first got that exact cue, and I thought it meant, obviously you're not going to be able to see this even on the video, that you were meant to push them out like that. So you basically abducting your leg at the hip, and it wasn't. It's not. You're not doing that. You're not putting the weight onto that. You're doing that. You are externally rotating. And like you say, it can be very hard to get that cue across to people.
It's getting and being able to explain. I think I'm fairly good at verbalizing and explaining things to people, and I feel as if, you know, I'm pretty good at getting people to understand things. So I feel as if I can get people to understand that, but it's something that some people just don't have. And just because somebody's got a big total, I mean, I hate seeing it. I hate seeing somebody like, because I've learned a lot. Obviously, I mean, one way isn't perfect, but I think the way that I train's the best way. That's why I do it. So I believe in the certain principles that I teach, and I got a reason for why. You asked me, why am I working in this percentage, or why am I doing this exercise? I'll give you an answer, because you know, like, everything that's in that program, it's there for a reason. I would encourage people to question their coaches and actually find out how much do they know, or do they just throw in some, like, I don't know, say for instance, speed work at you because speed equals power, and that, you know, that's what you'll do. It'll just help you be more explosive. It's like lines like that are just bullshit. Like, I'm sorry, it's you need to. If I pointed at your program and asked your coach, why is that in there, they need to be able to tell you exactly why. And I see quite a few coaches out there, and I just think, I see what they're telling their clients to do, and I'm like, that's dangerous. Or like, how many PEDs have you put them on is another question. It's just, do they have consideration for your health?
That's my biggest gripe. It's the health, and it's the actual, basically the fact that they probably don't care, and they only care about one, the money, and two, like how it feeds their self-worth and ego, because they're making the clients think that they're getting stronger, or they're making them stronger by, like you say, putting them on PEDs, especially if they're female, honestly. Like,
PEDs,
you should never, ever...
PEDs are performance-enhancing drugs for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what that is.
And you shouldn't... If a female's going to go on PEDs, she should make that decision herself. You should never encourage a female to go on steroids or any other. Otherwise, basically, I honestly think that pieces of shit, like, honestly. And the fact that some... I don't know if even, like, some coaches actually watch their lifters lift. Because they're not it's not even that the technique might not be optimal for strength, but they're not to comp standard. If they're squatting high all the way through the training cycle, how much is that gonna like mar their confidence for comp day? It's not gonna mar their confidence. It will mar their performance, because they won't get a squat in, or if they do, they're lucky.
Depends what fed.
Yeah, well, we've been through this, haven't we? But yeah, I think. What it goes down to, really, there's knowledge, and then there's caring.
Yeah.
Like how much you care about your clients. Like, you know, even like I'll do programming and I'll do coaching. I see those two things as separate, because programming doesn't come with the videos. But sometimes I just have to see a video. Like I could be doing your program, but like, look, I need to see this. Just send me a video. I know you've not. This sounds bad, but I know you've not paid for this. But just send me a fucking video, because I need to see what you're doing. This, you know. That's
it. I say that. I mean, the way I do it, it's like 4 weeks of program, but after every session, I want at least one video of a working set of the main exercise, and also if you send me videos of your accessory work, because all of that stuff is essential. If you're not doing the accessory work, I'll take, for example, a program face pulls in there, and that's how can I summarise this?
Even that is down to interpretation. The face pull. If you're not getting the face pull right, you're not actually.
I don't want to see a yanking, snatching motion and stuff like that. Lat pull downs and anything that you can. I want everything to be executed perfectly to actually target the muscle that I've programmed in there that I want you to strengthen. And seeing that and ensuring that you're doing that correctly is essential to covering all aspects of that of you building yourself as a stronger, well-rounded athlete. So I expect videos after every session with a breakdown of how it felt. It's very one-to-one, especially in the beginning, because there's lots to go through of what that you're very rare that somebody comes on board and you're like, wow, perfect, or it just doesn't happen. So yeah, I mean, what's the 3 points that you probably wanted to cover? It'd be like, one, don't just go on like a coach, what the coach has lifted, and if they try and use that as a bargaining chip, tell them to fuck off. Two, look at their credentials. Who have they worked with? How have they got them stronger? And did they stay? Were they injury free as well? Or if I think, did they just ram them on a load of peds to get them to lift those weights? And I think I've just forgotten three. Ask them, why are you telling me to do this? And expect a good explanation. If you've got a coach at the moment, I encourage you to ask those questions and probe them and actually see how much do they actually know about why they're programming you. That'd be my 3 points that I'd try and cover.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree, honestly. And like I said, I guess all that can be summarised by the care that goes in. Care, knowledge.
It's do you know what? It's hard because when you don't know, you can get told anything. Oh yeah, and like it is a minefield. So.
That's why it's a big selling point. That's why these big totals and a person being strong themselves is a massive selling point. Because as a newbie, you're automatically going to look at the person with the biggest total and go, I want him or her to coach.
I'll be honest, since I totaled 1,000 kilos on Saturday, I've had 6 people contact me. How much is it for coaching? I'm like, and I kind of like, it almost annoys me because I'm like, you're so fickle. Like, you don't know what I know. Like, obviously, like, I'm confident in my own ability, but it's like, is this all you go on?
You wouldn't have sent me this if I would have sort of $9.95.
Yeah.
But okay, let's move on to. Do you have any other points? And biggest mistake in the warm-up room?
One, if I run through them. One, not starting to warm up soon enough. Always aim to be ahead of schedule when you're warming up, because then you can always slow it down. I see it all the time, like people starting late, and then the warm-up rooms turn into carnage and chaos.
Yeah.
2, staying hydrated. That's like one of the biggest things that can affect your performance on the day. As well as nutrition. We covered nutrition a bit earlier, so like make sure you're getting those things in. And the warm-up procedure, how many sets, how much volume they've done. I see people warming up, they get to like 80% and they'll do like a triple or like 5 reps.
Yeah. And
it's like, what the hell are you doing? People ask me like, what's the best way to warm up? And it's hard to give an answer because it depends on how strong you are and how many warm-up sets you've got to do. But basically, you want to warm yourself up, spending the least amount of energy as you can to be ready to attempt that warm-up weight. And I wish there was like a formula like that you could just give people, but it's not. I mean, more energy you
probably
expend,
can to an extent if you extrapolated it from the most successful people who've had the white light attempts and stuff, and seen what they've warmed up with, and see what the least amount of volume you can get away with, and then they used 80% for a single, they used 70% for a double, and trace it back or whatever. You probably could.
What did you do for? This would be interesting. Ben, what did we open like a similar number? Are you open with
207, yeah,
on bench?
So I went.
So what were your warm ups for bench?
I actually didn't do the bar this time. I normally would do the bar, but it was loaded with 25 kilos. I might have done the bar. So normally it'd be a bar for 5, 70 kilos for 3, 120 kilos for 2.
Yep.
Then I go to 160, so slightly smaller jump for 1. Then I do 190 for 1, and that's me warmed up.
Right, okay. Me, I always do a little bit of activation.
I did the other stuff before as well, but I won't go through that.
Literally, mine was just like external rotation and then some lat pull downs.
Yeah.
So then I think I went 60 for 5, 100 for 2. I then went 130 for 1, 150. These were all singles. So it was I think it was 130, 150, 170. No, wait, what did I do? Because I opened with my last one was 205. I went 70, 100, 130, 150, 170, 190, 205.
Right, so you did a few more warm-ups.
Yeah, I did do a few more warm-ups.
But they're all singles. I think that's the main point, isn't it?
Apart from the first 2 sets. And there was actually I started really early and I had to slow things down. But yeah, I did a if you say after the 100, I did how many reps? 30, 50, 70, 90. I did 5 reps.
Right, there you go.
5 singles building up.
So you saved your energy. I think that's one of the big points. And I think on the point of saving energy, I think people get too psyched up in the warm-up room. You do not need to psych yourself up. You
save it for the platform.
Using too much adrenaline.
That's it.
For something that you don't need to use it for. Save it for, like people screaming in the warm-up room. 1, it looks really stupid. And two, like, you just don't need to do it, and it probably is deleterious to your actual performance on the platform.
I used to get really, really amped up for all of my lifts, and I tread a line now where I will, the big ones like the deadlifts, and the ones that mean something. I think the ones I got most amped up for was the 400 squat, which is obviously to join the 400 kilo club, the 227 bench, which is 500 pounds, and then I only got a chance to do one deadlift. No, I did attempt the next deadlift. So then my deadlifts, because they were for records as well. But I tread the line. I used to want to get somebody to slap me on the back and hit me and get like really angry. And I find now, the more I've become an advanced lifter, the more I need to remain calm to remember to execute the lift correctly. I just don't want to rush anything. And make a technical error because I've got too amped up.
Yeah, I'm super chilled in the warm-up room. I will amp myself up a little bit, but I try and for my actual list, but I try and contain my energy and try and up it as like the weight gets heavier. I will tell you one thing I did at the Irish Pro though. I failed my first 385 attempt because I knew that I wasn't going to total anything big, and my raw with wraps total does actually mean that much to me these days because I want to focus on sleeves going long term. Not really, so I thought, fuck it, 385. That'd be PB by 2.5 kilos, and it's all I care about. Failed my first attempt at it, and I thought, you know what, the chances are now of getting it not great, so I thought, let's try something new. Amanda Hillary was filming me, so I gave her my phone and I said, you know what, tell you what, just give me a slap before this one. He was like, on the back. I was like, no, I want you to slap me in the face.
I was thinking, I think at one point when I got 410, when I was thinking, I might not get this. Go on, sorry.
And then, and she was like, she gave me a practice slap, and she was loving it because she just got to slap someone in the face. Anyway, I got a good few slaps in the face off her. It didn't work. But,
was it any better? Did it break the floor?
No. I don't think it was any worse. I think it does the same job as like smelling salts. It's like the same type of thing. It just wakes you up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like when you the way I put it, like if somebody goes, "What's smelling salts?" Like, what does it do? And I'm like, it just causes you a bit of sharp pain, like a bit of discomfort. I said, like, have you ever stubbed your toe? And like, it really pisses you off.
Yeah.
Like, and then if that happens, and then you've got something to channel it into, like. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I know it sounds like cliche, like the Hulk or something. I think the angrier I can get, the stronger I do feel I am. Because if something's pissed me off, weights seem to move a lot better. Unfortunately, nobody was really pissing me off that much that day.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I wouldn't describe the feeling as anger, but it's just kind of like more like just when I know that I'm going to get a lift, it's just like ultimate energy, just kind of feeling good, confident. That's how I would say it. And it's just focus. It's not anger, it's focus. When I know I'm going to get...
Pure hatred and anger for me. I think as I was going, how badly can I swear on this?
You can swear as badly as you want.
Even the C-bomb?
Yeah, you can drop a few C-bombs.
So I was like getting underneath that bar when I did that 410, and as I said, my motivation going into it was like I felt underestimated. So I was getting under the bar and I was going, I'll fucking show these cunts.
Yeah. I understand that. I understand that more than see how I would interpret anger. You know when people get a slap on the back? That's irritated. I don't want to feel irritated because it's not a positive emotion, isn't it?
I can give myself goosebumps
right
when I switch it
on. That's what you want. What you want. Yeah. I think that's different to anger because anger is like, say for example, like I don't know, someone's giving you a parking ticket. That would not motivate me to lift. But it's kind of like that.
Motivate you to lift them and choke slam.
Yeah. But that being underestimated feeling, I think that's a really good example. Like where you just want to, when you want to prove someone wrong. It's a motivation. It's impetus to do the lift.
If you look at how, like when I got that 400 squat, I thought right, that's as far as I was concerned, if I get a 400 squat, that day's mine. No one's strong enough to get near me. I've just got to like go through the motions now. So after I did the 400 squat, I actually go to the ground, I fist pump on my chest, I go, mine! I made myself cringe when I watch it back, but that was like the thought. I was like, mine now, it's mine. Well, it wasn't.
Yeah, in the moment you do some crazy shit, but that's all part of it, isn't it? That is all part of it.
Yeah.
And not for this to sound abrupt, but I think we've covered everything pretty much.
Yeah, how long? This is. I feel
Mate,
like this has been another long one.
1 hour 50. We've got a PB.
Yeah,
it's the first PB I've had in ages.
1 hour 40. The last one we did. We can jabber on. I think most people are just going to be interested in the first 20 minutes.
Right, mate. Thank you for coming here, and especially of your own. Suggestions as well. You contacted me saying I want to do a podcast, which I take that as a massive compliment. So thank you very much.
I enjoyed the last one. There were some topics that I wanted to discuss, and I didn't feel as if there was a better way of putting them across and chatting about them than coming on here.
I'm sure everyone will love it, apart from the ones who...
on that side of the fence.
Yeah, on the right side of the fence, I'm sure everyone will love it.
Yeah, well, screw those guys.
Thank you, pal.
No worries. Get that on camera. That could be the thumbnail.